السلام عليكم يا شباب، معاكم دكتور محمد علاء. النهاردة تاني أسبوع من محاضراتنا بعد وقف الدراسة تحسبا لانتشار فيروس كورونا. طبعا كنت أتمنى أن أنا أشوفكم، لكن أتمنى أن احنا محاضراتنا وتفاعلاتنا تكون مستمرة. وزي ما قلت في المحاضرة اللي فاتت، هبقى سعيد جدا لو حضراتكم بعتوا لي إيميل في أي وقت بأي أسئلة، وأنا زي ما قلت بستجيب بسرعة جدا لأي إيميل بيوصلني. لو حد منكم محتاج ان احنا نتقابل عن طريق سكايب او عن طريق زوم، طبعا يسعدني جدا ان انا اقابل حضراتكم واجاوب على اي اسئله. ممكن نتقابل على سكايب واحد، يعني اتقابل مع اي طالب بشكل منفرد، او مجموعه لو عايزين تسالوا على التكليفات بتاعتكم. بخصوص التكليف النهائي، طبعا انا متفهم ان احنا صعب دلوقتي ان احنا ننزل منظمه حكوميه او منظمه غير حكوميه ونعمل انترفيو. فاللي انا عملته ان انا تواصلت مع بعض الاشخاص اللي بيشتغلوا في وزارة التخطيط، في وزارة الخارجية، في بعض الجهات الحكومية المهمة، بعض الاشخاص العاملين في مشروع الانتقال للعاصمة الإدارية، وطلبت منهم ان انا ابعت لحضراتكم قائمة بالاسامي اللي ممكن تستفيدوا منها. وطلبت من الاشخاص دول ان هم يوافقوا ان هم يعملوا معاكم انترفيوز، او ان انتوا تعملوا معاهم انترفيوز عن طريق التليفون او عن طريق سكايب او عن طريق زوم او اي من وسائل التواصل الاخرى. فبالتالي انتوا مش محتاجين تنزلوا، انتوا كل اللي محتاجينه ان انتوا مع بعض كطلبه اجتمعوا على سكايب او اجتمعوا على زوم او كلموا بعض في التليفون او استخدموا واتساب، واختاروا الموضوع اللي انتوا عايزين تتكلموا فيه. وانا هبعت لحضراتكم النهارده مساء او بكره بكتير ان شاء الله قائمه بالاشخاص اللي ممكن تتواصلوا معاهم من عدد من الجهات الحكوميه، وان شاء الله هيكونوا مفيدين جدا بالنسبه لكم. زي ما بقول، بعض الناس اللي تواصلت معاهم في مجلس الوزراء، في وزاره التخطيط، وفي جهات اخرى، فاتمنى ان الموضوع يكون مفيد ويسهل عليكم الورقه الختاميه. حاجه تانية، لو حد منكم بالفعل بدأ الورقة بتاعته وبدأ يتواصل مع جهات معينة، خلاص يكمل في شغله لو هو حابب ان هو يكمل مع الجهة اللي هو بدأ معها بالفعل. لكن اللي بقوله، لو منكم لاقي صعوبة في ان هو يوصل لحد في وزارة او في جهة او في منظمة غير حكومية بالنظر للظروف اللي احنا فيها، فانا حاولت ان انا اسهل الموضوع ده عليكم. ان شاء الله هبعت لكم الايميل وفي قائمة بالاشخاص اللي انتم ممكن تلجأوا لهم. اتمنى ان شاء الله النهارده مساء او غدا على أقصى تقدير بإذن الله. Okay, now we can go back to our topic. So last class we were speaking about the idea of organization culture, and we said that like human beings, organizations have cultures. In other ways, they have values and norms and ways of doing things. They have their approaches for defining what is good behavior, what is wrong behavior, and how they deal with different situations. For example, some organizations just seem to be more innovative. They encourage innovation. They encourage people to make risks. Other organizations are a bit risk averse. They don't like taking risk. Employees know that risk-taking behavior will be penalized somehow. And again, sometimes it depends on the nature of the organization. So if you're speaking about a company in the field of IT, you need to take risk, you need to innovate, you need to propose new ideas. In some other places, like for example, if you're working for a government organization that focuses on transportation, for example, maybe, I'm just saying maybe, the room for innovation is not that much. So historically, the organization has not been one which encourages innovation. What I want to say is that organizations have their cultures just like human beings do. We spoke about how to analyze culture and how to understand an organization's culture in the previous class. In this class, I want to discuss issues related to the strength of culture, how culture is installed in different organizations, how culture transforms or lives throughout the lifespan of the organization, what characterizes strong versus weak organization culture, how can we install a culture of innovation, of customer service, and so on and so forth. So I want to start with distinguishing strong versus weak cultures. First, as I said, culture, an organizational culture, or culture generally, is the norms and values and attitudes and behaviors that guide action, that guide what you will do, that guide your definition of what is right and what is wrong, your definition of what's acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable. Again, think about it in our daily lives. Can I do certain behaviors? Can I make lots of noise at night? Again, some people would say no. Why? Out of respect. Again, this is a value. Can I engage in certain behaviors? Can I speak in certain ways? Some cultures actually are very permissive of certain behaviors. Others are not. Why? Because there are different values and different attitudes and different perceptions of what is right and what is wrong that societies and cultures and individuals and organizations would adapt. Generally speaking, in organization theory, we distinguish two kinds of cultures: strong cultures versus weak culture. Strong culture usually have a stronger effect on all employees, and it has certain characteristics. First, values are widely shared. So for example, you're doing research on a particular organization and you want to know how the value of this organization looks like, or how this organization would react to different situations. Basically, the first step is to understand how far the values are shared. So for example, in FEPS, for example, we have a value of commitment to high quality research. We have a commitment to excellence. We have commitment to continued improvement. These are our values in FEPS. How many people in FEPS know about these values? Are they only shared by the top administrators, like only the dean and deputy deans and chairs of departments who know about these values? Other professors and students don't know about it. So if the cultural values are only understood, are only shared by a narrow strata of individuals within the organization, then this is not a strong culture. This is actually a weak culture. However, if values are shared widely by everyone within the organization, then we're speaking about a strong culture. Strong cultures convey consistent messages about what is important, about what the organization cares about. In other words, let's imagine that one organization encourages innovation, then the organization should also encourage risk-taking. The organization should also encourage employees to speak up their minds. The organization should not put lots of barriers between the employee and the boss. The employee can directly go to the boss and say, hey, I have a new idea. Would you mind listening to me? So the thing is, all the components of the culture should be consistent. You can't have a culture which says we support innovation, but at the same time, you find that the boss just perceives himself as superior to everyone. It's very difficult to knock on his door or her door and, walk in and say, I have a new idea. The thing is, strong cultures have to convey consistent messages, and the values should be consistent. Let's take another example. I started an idea. Let's say I want to do write a new research paper. I applied for money. I got money from FEPS. I started working on this research paper, but then my paper did not get published in a good journal. Okay? So what happened? I made a conscious decision that I want to innovate. I want to write a new paper. And I thought this paper would be published in a wonderful, wonderful journal. But this didn't happen. If I get punished for that, if I get a salary deduction, if I get, whatever other punishment, then there are mixed messages. If you support innovation, just support innovation. If you don't support innovation, that's fine. This is your culture. The lesson is be consistent. Strong cultures have to convey consistent messages. Most employees can tell stories about company history or heroes. Think about FEPS again. Who are our heroes in FEPS? Dr. Ali Hilal, one of the great deans of FEPS who, contributed a lot to FEPS' reputation, to the fame of FEPS. During, his deanship, the time when he was a dean, FEPS got lots of attention. We were able to attract lots of resources, including financial resources from different organizations. We were able to establish lots of research centers. So again, this is one of our heroes. Boutros Ghali, the former UN Secretary General, you see his photo in the first floor of FEPS. Why? Because again, he's one of our heroes. We have lots of heroes in FEPS. And the thing is with strong cultures, people know about their heroes. In the US, for example, George Washington is one of their heroes. In Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, for example, or Tawfiq al-Hakim or Naguib Mahfouz or Ahmed Zuhail. These are our heroes. And again, whether this is myth or reality, strong cultures, in strong cultures or in organizations with strong cultures, people know about the heroes of the organizations. And employees strongly identify with this culture. So for example, if you're surveying employees, you want to know from them, okay, what values do your organization cherish? How far do you think these values or living with these values is a good thing? You'll find that most employees will identify with the culture and they're happy with the culture, and they're actually very knowledgeable about their organization culture. Finally, there should be strong connection between shared values and behaviors. Again, if everyone in the organization believes in hard work, then this should be reflected in their behaviors. If everyone in the organization, or at least if the organization claims that its culture supports customer satisfaction, then the behavior of employees within this organization should also reflect large or high levels of attention to customer satisfaction. The lesson is there are strong cultures and there are weak cultures. In strong cultures, people are aware of the values that the organization cherish. Everyone within the organization shares the same values. The culture conveys consistent messages. There's no contradiction between one message and the other. So for example, we support innovation. We won't punish you if you take risk, but it just doesn't work as expected. Most employees can tell stories about their company history and heroes, and employees are actually happy with their culture and they can identify with this culture. Finally, there's a strong connection between the written values or the official values on one side and the behaviors of employees from another side. Okay. Which is better, strong cultures or weak cultures? Actually, strong cultures, if they are consistent with the organization's message, with what the organization wants to achieve, most empirical research, and when I say empirical research, I mean research based on observation, collecting data, and examining data. So most empirical research actually showed that culture and strong culture is actually conducive to excellence in organization performance. So not all cultures are equally influential. However, strong cultures have strong influence on employee behavior, on how employees relate to each other, relate to the organization's customers, relate to the organization's environment. And strong cultures are known to have a positive effect on organization performance. Again, this is empirical research. So for example, if there's a company which works in IT, the organization culture say that we cherish innovation, we cherish hard work, we cherish customer relations. If the culture is strong, meaning if everyone shares these values, if everyone believes in these values, if there's consistency between the different messages, and if employees are actually aware of these values and they're implementing these values in their behaviors, then we expect that this organization would be performing at high levels. Okay, now the question is, where does the organization culture comes from? There's been a lot of research in the field of public administration which addressed this exact same question. What is the source of the organization's culture? Basically, most people would say the founder. Again, why the founder? Because usually organizations at their early stages, they are small, so it's easy for one individual to install certain values, and these values will have long-lasting effects if, and I'm saying if, only if, the organization is able to maintain these values. And from one generation to another, again, we tell stories, we speak about our heroes, and so on and so forth. So this is how one generation within the organization will learn the founder's original value commitments. Think about it. Bill Gates, for example, where did he start Microsoft? In a small, I think it was a garage or something, in a very small room with a friend. He thought about the idea of Microsoft, about the idea of Windows. So the thing is, he had some values, again, values of innovation, of hard work, of of customer satisfaction, of contributing to businesses and business growth. Again, these values started when the company was only composed of two people. And then Bill Gates was able to make sure that this culture will transfer from one generation to the next within Microsoft. Again, the small size of the organization at the early stages would make it easier for the founder to have a strong influence on the organization's culture. Okay, one other example is think about Apple's strong culture and strong value and strong commitment to innovation and customer satisfaction and customer service. Again, this is reflected in lots of practices within Apple. Again, the organization started as a small company, but then by time, managers would make sure that the culture is transferred from one generation to another. One way of transferring culture is, again, telling stories about the organization founder, about the reasons why the organization exists, about the heroes of the organization. So everyone in Apple, for example, knows about Steve Jobs. Everyone in Microsoft would know about Bill Gates, and so on and so forth. Another way of making sure that culture transfers from one generation to another is practices and rituals, and making sure that certain behaviors and certain activities would reflect our cultural values. So for example, in Apple, you find practices like, junior employees getting mentored by older employees. And, there's time for people to interact and to ask questions and, to share ideas. And through these practices, the original values would I would say, move on from one generation within the organization to the next generation. Okay, now the question is how employees learn culture. So we said, okay, culture usually starts with the founder at the early stages of the organization when the organization is very small. Now the question is, how does it transfer from one generation to the next? I pause here for a while just to check how my sound is doing, and then I'll be back. Thank you.